Well, welcome to the Dream Labs, the Dr. Contrast Live. Really good to be back on board, and just a real quick little update here. Really had an unfortunate situation last week that came about on Wednesday. I put all the pieces together, and we started this whole Mokarran, or this hammerhead shark biomimicry light fighter program, and for a citizen, I went for about 57 minutes, so to find out, for example, that maybe midstream, for example, happened was issue. I noticed a little flag came up on the screen about chat interrupted. When I came back on again, I think the internet in the building dropped from what we found out. And when it came back together again, that 50 plus minute program ended up being 17 minutes. So I just want to take a moment here today. Number one, to tell you I'm very sorry that that took place, and I was aware of it and kept going. And I thought, well, we had a good program put together, and it's a history of the development of this Mokarran program that we'll be dealing with, this biomimicry head shark into an intermediate light fighter. And lo and behold, it never took. So, but we did find out that somehow we were linked to, we were hacked somehow into the system here in the building, and it just interrupted everything. The sound went up, and Terrace, if you're watching, that's what took place as far as the sound is concerned. Hope it's normal here today. But nonetheless, let's go back and take a look at this thing. And for the interest of time here, to make sure we kind of bring back then a brief view on where we are with this Mokarran program. Give you a little bit of a brief overview of some of the history. This program started about maybe a year ago, a year and a half ago, doing an intermediate lightweight fighter for Star Citizen and the biomimicry, taking something from the natural world and developing it into a product aircraft. It's an advanced vehicle fighter called the Mokarran, genus name for the head shark. So I looked at these, for example, I brought these sketches back. I'm going to go through a real brief little overview, some of the later development throughout the course of the week to kind of get some more of the character down. And while I'm at it too, the primary reason for moving back to this program, I went back through the archives and looking at some of the work done on aircraft technology. This one came up, and I looked at the final product in it, and honestly, it just didn't look like too friendly. It didn't look like a fighter. It wasn't aggressive enough. I'm not saying that what we had now today, I'm still working on it, but I want to make sure we kind of get the translation from this hammerhead shark, some of the organic things of the SeaWorld animal, into a viable aircraft product here. So nonetheless, this is where I started here. This is some time ago. I brought a few sketches out that might be applicable for today's presentation. Let you take a look at it. Well, it's coming together here. So what I've done here is taken this guy and sure, a little elevation study of this Mokarran. And if you notice, very organic, very almost a tubular type shape and form once it came through, for example, the actual line drawing here. But what was interesting about that is when I started the program, what I thought about doing that is taking that much information, right, that portion right there, and using that as an armature so to develop the rest of the shapes as we've been putting together the whole concept, this light fighter. So based on that premise, it is this. Here's the elevation. Went through a couple of really simple front elevations for keeping it pretty organic, and then using that whole hammerhead front as maybe an attack platform of some sort, or munitions platform. Even here, a little bit more organic in terms of dropping those, almost like a blended wing system. Much better approach in the long run of this new facelift, this phase 2. Get more of a blended wing, so it's all one shape, but it's looking hungrier. And again, this is a little bit too friendly here. Went right back in and did something for patients. I think the stance here was interesting. But again, a little bit too busy. I think some of that capture here to get that high tail. And one of the principles, for example, in the sketch of the process that was very simple, and that we had the concept I was looking at was everything full forward, a lot of weight up front on the hammerhead, with that islet, front platform in the front of the fish, and then a high tail cockpit area. So that was part of the premise. For example, in this guy right here, notice body form, blended wing, but a high cockpit area at the back of the aircraft. So that was the first sketch we started with right there. So let me just move down the line here. Now we're going to do a little bit of an anthology here. I started putting together some very quick, simple plan views and some perspective studies about, and it looked like, for example, front of vehicle, cockpit rear, and these gun pads. these pods out on the end there. And I don't know if they fit the paradigm at all or not. It was a pretty hammerhead. It was far too open in these areas to be part of the whole process. But interesting how it all came together. Looking at use patients, prospective studies, getting some new looks, for example, be a little bit overdone. Nonetheless, exploring some of the new shapes and forms that we're dealing with. Mokarran. Now, this guy, sudden, almost like B-2 bomber type, but a little bit on the strange side. But this had some merit too. He had this kind of vehicle here, rear gunners, and finishing up the car. So that was another pass and just another plan view, a little thumbnail study here to get that taken care of. And last but not least, this was something here that I thought, well, I'm pretty, let's do this. There we go. All right, so back to, but you know, not about a year and a half ago, these are some of the preliminary sketches for the whole new facelift. Very interesting thing that came about was this. Now, this little plan form, a little more hammerhead look to it, maybe a little bit too weighted, too typical. Had some, at least had some character to it. It might be have some, obviously. But this is an interesting format too. Again, almost very simple. Again, that hammerhead form and the actual guys was missing with the tail section. So I might come back to this a little bit later. So I'm going to pull this off to the isolation here, get that out of the way, and come back to that in a few moments here. So that's one. And once that initial developed itself, I started stuff and really back in view sketches and perspective sketches based on head look here with that hot cockpit as we talked about, and engine systems and the like, and then time view might look like with the munitions out on the wing. And now this has capability. These guys would rotate as this wing moves forward and forms the rest of that wing structure. So with it, but here again, something about the scale, the proportion, it started to look like it had some substance to it. Again, right there where we are, whole process here. So, but a little marker study kind of gives an impact on what we're looking at here. Another variation on theme here, same process, a little more mechanical looking. Pick up some of the shapes. Got a little bit busy trying to get some of that hammerhead form up front here. That form, the intakes and exhaust system, aircraft itself, or the fighter. Again, munition system out here. Pretty character too. Again, maybe a bit overdone. Not quite as it looked evil, looked wicked, but don't know if that was not quite sure. Right format to work with here. Format. Lots of exploratory stuff, and ended up doing great exercise. Again, the reason for the review is to look at this one more time and something more light fighter type, but almost a little bit more sinister looking. Again, one of the things I really want to draw stress too in this new exercise to get into this whole idea of having this whole form being a blended wing. Notice it wasn't quite blended here. It was almost a platform to a substrate behind it all, cockpit being elevated. Blended wing concept. Get it in one shape and then really detail that nicely. That can be better resolved for this. So once I left this series of aspects, I really began to look at, all right, let's go back and reanalyze what we're looking for. So this is up until this sketch was previous history. Now we're moving into some new step work. And this is very interesting. These are just plan view studies, like trying to make this thing work more like the hammerhead up front here, up front, but splitting it up a little bit, getting this kind of character to it. Now, oftentimes, we go back into a process like this, and it takes already established, maybe overwork it and overthink it a little bit. I think this sketch, it really began to really look like it was, there was some potential in it. Like, for example, the body form in the middle of this guy was kind of neat where you come down through that stem. But busy on the side here, a lot of activity out here. Cockpit area looked interesting. There was some merit in some of these sketches, but they still didn't have that strike that just said, yeah, that's it. I don't want to drift too far from the actual biology of the shark itself or the hammerhead. This might have gone a little bit too far, but there's some things here, like the cards in the cockpit at the rear, that whole center, to do that again. This whole piece right here, that center section, have some really interesting art here. So these are the things I go through and put together some real thumbnail sketches to get some sort of set rolling. I let the whole thing go through. So sketches, a whole new fresh sheet of this I worked on after last week's stream. Kind of put some pieces together based on where we are here. So interesting. It said an awful lot about. Yeah, we have to look at this again, but don't go too far from the initial biomimicry getting that form put together. So this is a good page in terms of what we're going to do. Some of these, again, some of the center spine areas look really interesting. So there's merit there, but everything outside of that, it looked very busy. It didn't look like it was fish-like. So here's another set. I can kind of simplify it a bit. Again, a bit too much. It's almost like almost big circular area here. Again, especially when you look at the plan views of these. Again, something interesting. Well, center structure, but where you need to be in terms of having this thing look like it's packed by the lightweight version here. Also, for instance, elevation to elevation, it's a bit busy and it really have an aquatic look. Just looking at attack vehicle or an aircraft system. Yeah, I'm out of character there. I'll look at this got a little weighty here as well. This process again. Some of the things happening up front, center spine and cockpit are interesting. Like these little winglets and the little gloves back here. Once again, it's looked interesting from the point of view of just the underlying portion. Right there was, but again, a little too complicated and not quite enough hammerhead to kind of stain it in pieces. Line here. So another little pencil thumbnail sketches to kind of give us an idea of where we're taking new direction in the phase 2 process. Get it put together. So a little study here. I went back and simplified even more. So again, a lot more dart-like, much more dart-like. Maybe not enough shark. This might have some dirt to it, and bringing that around again. Very, very, very interesting. Too far outside the realm of it being fish type. It's an odd and do here is keep the integrity of biomimicry, develop a lightweight. Oh, problems there. Hang on a minute. Shadow must be on board here. There it is. Is that better? Hold on a minute here. Having some trying to get audio. See what happens here. So it's cutting out again, sound-wise. Hold on here as we get this in reconfigured. Cutting out a little bit, so interesting. Let's see. Processor lined up. Pick it right back up again. So there's almost something on this audio stuff here. I'm not quite sure how that's all coming together, but is it back up and running there, Shadow? Are we in good shape or carry on or go back and review some things again on Terrace? I'm very sorry for the inconvenience if you're live again. The chat system isn't up either, so happening on that end of it. Boy, all of a sudden, since that hack job, we've some real problems with the order here. I don't know, Michael, if you're listening at all, is that chat active at all, or do we know? I'm not sure what's happening here, but the sound is coming up. Normally, I have people lined up, for example, in Terrace, other individuals want to tune into it here. Sure. Huh. Back again here, analyzing as we go here, folks. So thanks for your patience. We're just going to pick up in a minute here. Chat system put together and the sound put together. So finish up and go through the process. Hmm. Hey, there it is, chat. There it is. Got it. Hey, there you go. Hey, thanks very much, Shadow. That was not appearing on the screen when I started, so my apologies here. Really interesting here. No worries. Stop it. Let's see where were we here. Well, thanks very much, Antares, for getting that note to us about this sound system. Very difficult. As I said, a lot of stuff happened last week that was really, really alarming. Came up, really caught me by surprise, as well as Shadow as well. So, excellent. Yeah, not sure why. I mean, it's just really strange. I mean, it didn't come up on the screen when I started the stream. So, again, thank you and putting that together for us. So, let me ask before I go any further. Did you catch most of the conversation thus far in Terrace, or do you want me to go back and review real quickly again? I'll just hold on for a moment. Response. Something. Ah, speakers are probably looking at the speaker system now, so microphone. That should be active. I mean, I get some good feedback on the microphone system, so that should be okay. Oh, very, very good. Thank you. Thanks very much, Antares. Appreciate the input. So we can go back here. Back here and do form. There we go. Put it's in there. Very, very touchy stuff all the way around, man. Huh. .com. Now we've got the password. Hang on a moment here. That new 7. Oh, lost it here. 739. Hey, there it is. Boy, I tell you, that really, again, sorry for the interruption here, Jane, but thanks for jumping on top of that. Got it. All right, super. Much appreciated there. Really great. So thanks very much, Shadow, for putting that together. Again, the consequences of that last week's hit was really massive. The sound went down. We lost the film. Almost 40 minutes of presentation, line work, etc. So here we are again, and thank you very much, those of you for hanging on here, and Michael for Shadow all together again. Audio should be much better now. So yeah, I think the microphones are working well. I just couldn't realize that thing in and out like that. So once again, Chris, since you're online here, does that sound any better as far as staying stable? Be okay. Some difference your experience on your end here. Anybody real quickly? Let me go backtrack for a moment here. A couple of sketches. I think there's things here. Make sure. Started with. There we go. I want to put these back on the deck here. That's great. Very good. Thanks, Antares. We'll go back to this the first pass of thumbnail sketches. Again, oftentimes in trying to rework or facelift certain things, you get into a complication of make more out of it than you have to. Choppy, but better than before. Huh. Wow. I'll hold on here until we got diagnostics. That now I'm trying to get this side a bit more consistent. Bit funny. No. Very, very disturbing. Now we're up and running. So what do we think? Is it less choppy now, or is it still doing that? Huh. Oh, so Shadow remove the filter. Yeah, go ahead. Remove the filter, so that might be cause a problem here. But again, just real quickly, an overview here. As I said just a few moments ago, oftentimes you go into a new facelift, in the situations where you tend to overkill the system, or you try to overmanage it, over direct it, and I think this is what's happening in some of these sketches that I went through, trying to make a change, and yet moving away a little bit from the whole idea of being biomimicry and this whole hammerhead shark going into a lightweight fighter. I think it's good. I hope it is too. I mean, I hope that we'll find out in a terrace. What do you think? Is it better, or is it still kind of chopping up on you a little bit here? Let's just hold on here for a response until we go any further. I think hopefully that's got it resolved. So, yeah, super. Okay, very good. Thanks, Antares. So enough said about this set of sketches here. Again, back into a little brief review, trying to get more of a not so much a complicated design scheme, but much more of an aggressive-looking form. Sometimes, like I said, the center spine areas look pretty good. I mean, there's some elements there that I could work with, but for the most part, the thing was a bit overdone, very busy. Come back and simplify it a little bit, and looking at some of this again, that center spine area looked interesting, as did this. But there's not enough. There's really not enough hammerhead in it to kind of give it some. But I'd filter that out later. Yeah, good to go. Hey, thanks very much, Shadow. And again, doing a couple of elevation studies here of what they might look like side elevation wise. And again, trying to do a lot of choppiness with it, get more stealthy with it. And I don't know if that's really functioning or not well, but let's see what we do here. Again, another minor facelift. Then I switched gears, simplified even more so. Maybe we move the spine forward to get this wing surface up front to get more of a hammerhead feel to it. But again, some of the character through here in the center line, the cockpit area looked interesting, and getting that little valley to kind of come through that whole body fuselage area. But again, keeping that blended wing look at it as well too. So again, another little face-up sketch there, and going back into another element where all of a sudden you get more of the hammerhead. But again, it still looks a lot of busyness in here. There's a lot of airspace, for example, like these areas in here. That's all airspace. That's all airspace. That becomes airspace. But again, it's so. I can't find the right term. It's so geometric. It loses a little bit of that organic feel that the shark has. So I want to maintain that a little bit. But again, I'm going through an exploratory phase here to really kind of stretch the envelope and find out what's working, what's not working. So that was another little refinement sketch here. Now, really. And back to some of the original concept work here, this has a real mean character to it, and now it's getting closer to, I think, what we're looking for. It misses a little bit of the hammerhead look, but it has some elements in it. For example, the center spine area looks interesting. I mean, all of a sudden it has that real cockpit area, drop canard tail system in it, a little bit of a facet work on top with some stealth up on top, then this little intake spine, the gunnery systems on the outboard side. A lot slimmer looking, so I think there's some really potential in that design. So I think I'm going to hold on to this one for later. This is more of a real heavy-duty fighter look to it. I mean, there's a lot of real meanness in this thing, but is it still quite hammerhead? No, not yet, but getting closer to it. Let's go back in through here. Next sketch, move over. Now back to almost the original concept sketch here, taking advantage of, again, high cockpit rear, a lot more geometric, interesting. Some engine nacelles out here, intakes. Some of the gunnery systems outboard, and it's got more of that hammerhead look to it. So I think we're getting closer with that. I think. Don't know. What's your opinion of it? Maybe as we go through this process, Antares, please let me know which ones you think have got the merit to kind of carry on here with this whole process of getting this piece put together. Because if you look at that one sketch, this sketch, I'll isolate it again as we go back through the history of this thing. This goes back to almost the original design we did last year. It was the original design was a lot softer through here. This is much more volumetric, guttier looking. It has more of the character we're after, but I'm really not quite convinced that it's quite there yet. I think the high tail, the high cockpit, sloping into that whole front portion with the munition system works well. Munition systems, full like a 180 here and a 180 on the other side, so it's a lot more light fighter look to it, I think. So it's a merit. Let's go back here with this guy. And I'm going to put that aside for a moment. Now, plan view again. This started to look at, and the interesting thing about this, it's got more of a hammerhead look, a little bit of a different configuration, but nonetheless, something about it looked unique. Not quite sure about the gun pods yet, but the actual munition system, a little stronger, and it's almost a full 360 munitions material as a light fighter would need. I think you would have to number the sketches or something for me to let you know which one I prefer. I'll do that, Terrace. I'll pick out a few here and go 1 through X and see what you think in terms of direction is concerned, and we'll take it from there. But I think this guy began to take some shape in terms of, it's very similar again to the original concept we did, but the whole plan view piece. So let me show you real quick. There's the actual color study side by side. There's the actual final illustration for the original Mokarran. But look how organic that is, and is it really? It's hammerhead, but it's not evil enough. But look at that. It's almost a very let's see, side by side. Look at the front end graphics. I think there's a lot more character in this series, and a lot more aggressive looking than the actual finished illustration piece at all. So let's see. That's a theme that we kind of work with. So I'm gonna isolate these. I'll go through these first, and Terrace, and I really appreciate you hanging on board here. And we'll number these guys and give you some idea which one you think. Wow, I love that gray and yellow scheme. Yeah, I think the gray and yellow. I think the color combination is neat. But I think that the actual aircraft itself, the vehicle itself, does not look shark-like enough, or it doesn't look lethal enough. So we kind of go back together here with that guy. In the final presentation, if we pick a direction, I'll kind of modify some of the shapes for next week and get into a nice final line drawing and get into a really nice full color illustration. And with the idea behind it is to get a print made to get up on the bookstore for sale, etc. But again, notice this has got much more of a blended wing look to it. All this stuff, this still has that same round kind of shark-like look to it, but hammerhead look to it. But it's a lot more lethal looking than that one we just showed you with the gray and yellow color scheme. Again, very interesting here. It doesn't have quite the blended wing, semi-blended wing, but if we lifted that up a little bit and brought that back into the upper portion of the vehicle itself and got more geometric with it, I think that could function very nicely. So let me put that one aside as well. That's a potential candidate as we go. Now, interesting. Let me go back to this sketch. This is one of the earlier sketches done last year when the program started. When I looked at this plan view right here, when I take this guy and cover that up and look at that plan view, there's a lot of hammerhead in that. Now, what's missing is the tail section. So maybe I went back to this sketch and said, all right, now let's go back and look at this thing from the point of view of where am I going with this thing. So I went back to this direction, and from that sketch, moved into this process. I think we've got it here. This is it. And then all of a sudden, here's my plan view of this thing. If we can kind of put them side by side, just enough to kind of see half and half. There it is, 50-50. Now, there it is. There's the actual shell. This is intended to be a very short, stubby kind of program, which could be interesting. Just a simple wing, a little more sharp to it, but it's a lot more geometric looking. But again, notice the difference here. There's one to the other. This has some character to it now. It's got that whole plan view to it. It's got that neat little almost diamond form back in, almost a lot more. This would be much more blended wing, all coming together, coming down on this platform with the wings and the gunnery systems still in the outboard flank. So I think we're getting closer here. Agreed. The non-color sketches are more aggressive. I think you're absolutely right on. I mean, they just don't have. That one did not have any aggression. It was a nice color scheme, but the actual format of the shark itself, or the biomimicry piece, was missing. So I much appreciate the input, Antares. You're right on the money. Color scheme, yeah, cool. Antares, agreed. So that was one. Let's keep this guy up for a moment. There's one, and now here's another one, side by side. Same plan view. Again, notice again, getting a little more organic with this thing. This is a little fractured, but this is a little rounder now. And it's starting to pick up that same character. Let me get this out of the way here. Just put this together with this. We can get these guys organized here. We're good. There it is to there. There it is. Those will fit on the same screen or not? Yeah, I think they will. There you go. There's the half section, a little more faceted. It's a little softer. Kind of brings it back into this whole shape. And again, this very diamond, almost geometric shape up on top. So I think this is starting to take on some real character. I don't know about this little horseshoe in here. Maybe bring all that forward and get a platform up front to kind of get that to work here. So that's another one. There we are there. Now this is the one I thought from this study and this study here, for example, from there to there. This is where we went. Let's see if we can get these guys side by side here just very quickly. So this is the plan view sketch we looked at here. And then I went to this as a thumbnail or a little perspective sketch. Now, my assessment of this study is this. Let me get these out of the way. My assessment of this study is this. It's got the character we're after. The outboard gunneries, a little bit of a platform spoon out front for a munition system. That can be very helpful. But where I think it falls apart is right in this area here. I'd like to make this, if this is a candidate at all, like to be able to take the wing structure, looks pretty good. It's almost shark-like up front, so we're getting some of that character back. But I think this is a little bit too soft. I might want to take that back and go a lot more geometric, for example, like this guy is showing me here. I think it wasn't here. Yeah, this guy. This has a little bit more of the geometric side we're looking for. Let's do this. That one to that one. Again, if you look at the transition here, this has much more that it has a character to it. That kind of section study, or also maybe that falls right off into a wing system. But I want to take this. This one has some potential in terms of taking this hole and getting sharper with it, and not afraid of being more geometric. And then this whole platform up front, maybe modifying that nose cone a little bit, but getting this whole thing to blended wing. It made that whole surface comes right up and right into the body form, and then drops into this platform where the munition systems are. So what do you think, Antara? Does that make sense to you? So if you're still on board here, there's something about this look that's a lot cleaner, but it doesn't have the same overall impact that that guy has yet. It just opened this up a little bit more, trying to get elevation down side view into this winglet here, becomes that area here. Then this comes out. I'm going to kick this out a bit more. But again, just definitely some very simple things to deal with here in terms of putting together the actual form itself. But I think, yeah, I mean, so you think this one has some merit as far as if we brought some of this character into this system, you feel, for example, in Terrace, that this has some potential to kind of rework with and refine for next week. The stream itself, they're doing some study work, getting the line drawing down, then we can do a nice composition for an attack, maybe 2 or 3 vehicles and a squadron to kind of put this thing together here. So what do you think? So far, so good? Interesting, very interesting. So let me just do this. Let me get these guys put aside here and get these out of the way for a moment. And again, notice, let's use this guy just for a moment. Let's back up on screen. Notice again how there's some things happening in through here that were interesting, but again, it just, after I got it all said and done, I thought, you know, the whole idea was to get a very, very cool, let's see, the wings in the front spoon and the one on the left. This one is much stronger. Yeah, I think the direction's much better. Thanks, Shadow. I think that's got a lot more character to it. So it's a combination of getting some of this geometry back into this form and being less speedboat-like up front, but more aircraft and a little more deep. I think simplifying the details helped as well. Doesn't have to be real busy. This could be still interesting in terms of maybe that front end system gets injected into this one. I'll start looking at this throughout the course of the week and develop some line drawing studies here to get it done. So let me do this real quickly here. Let's go back. Let's see. I started. There is one. Let's call that 1. Let's call that 2. Let's eliminate that one. That's kind of out of the picture. We've got 4 variations here. So let's do this. Oh, no, I did it. How did I start this? Okay, this should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's do this. See if I can line them up here. Here's sketch number 1. Here's sketch number 2. Here's development sketch number 3. And here's the variation off of that and sketch number 4. So let's do this. If I can get these all lined up here on the screen. You see there's 1. Let's go down the line here. Let's just do it this way. It'll be a lot easier. Changing the direction from, let's go back and get this up again here. Changing direction from this format, which is right there. There is the actual format of the original concept right there. So from that format, here's sketch number 1. Here's sketch number 2. Sketch 3 in plan view. Again, getting that shark, that hammerhead piece. And again, this could be modified by getting that jewel-like, very sheer rear section on it. And then this is the last one, number 4, with some modifications. They're getting sharper up in the body form. Lots of big platform wing structure up front, and modifying this elevation. Getting a little bit more, and then getting to a drop tail. I think Shadow had a great point about getting a tail canard behind this and then doing a drop wing tail section, more fish-like. So again, that was all predicated on getting that whole idea of that initial concept sketch, trying to work with this real briefly here. It came back to this. When it was all said and done, it came back to this guy right here. Just very briefly. bring this back, this initial theme sketch here, that portion right there is what I was trying to work with. If I were to block that off, that's the character we're after right there, that whole look. How do I stretch it? How do I get that into an attack vehicle of some sort? So let me get that out of the way. Let's get this out of the way. And let's see what we've got here. Once again, for those of you, for example, viewing here, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's the original Mokarran, or hammerhead, Sphyrna. Let me go back again here. If you're still there, please let me know what you think. What's the favorite to develop here? There's sketch number 1. Let's put that off to one side here. There's 1. There's sketch number 2, variation in theme. It's almost very similar to that look, but again, a little more aggressive looking, far more formidable looking. It's got some canard systems on it that are kind of interesting. That's interesting. That's 2. Oh, I'll move that up there for a moment. There's sketch number 2. That's that. There's sketch number 3. And then number 4. So, Antares, let's take care. Let's see. The attitude of sketch 1 is cool. All right. That's interesting. Number 2, I like the cockpit on element number 2. Yep, me too. That's interesting. And the combination of curves and hard edges. The wings and the plan view, sketch 3 are nice. Okay. So, but do you think, for example, is 4 a contender? Because at 3, for example, I came out of that with the 2, 1, 2. Yeah, there's 3, and then here's 4. Do you think this overall view is stronger? You think in terms of number 1, attitude of sketch 1 is cool. Cockpit and 2, the attitude of 1. Okay, so this attitude looks good. I think that's interesting. Got more of a blended wing look to it, and it doesn't take away from where we are here. But maybe we add that spoon up front here on this guy. So maybe that's a combination to work with there, Antares. Let me get this together here. So, attitude of sketch 1, that's solid. 4, 3, the wing form is neat. I could use that in terms of sketch 1. And the cockpit on 2. So overall, do you think number 1 is the winner? Is that what you're saying in essence? Which I don't disagree with at all. We can kind of work with that very easily. So let me put that together with this, and if I just put that side by side, look at that. There's the actual form there. Oh, let's get this up on top, and there's the actual. So there we are. Yeah, I do like 4. The front spoon is a strong iconic. Yeah, I think that's 4 is neat. I think that we can implement that into 4 and 1. Let's see if we get that guy. Those 2 put together. It could be interesting. That spoon could work very nicely with this arrangement here. Kind of fit right in there. But I think this has to be more geometric. There's something about that. There's something about this whole form that has a little bit more of the drop of the actual blender wing look to it. So that might be a good solid to work with there. So one last thing here, guys. Shadow, how are you? Are you still there? What do you think, Shadow? Just get a consensus here from you guys. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Any preference there, Shadow? Appreciate the input, Antares. Very, very helpful, because I've gone through a lot of variations on theme here, and I don't want to drift too far from the original concept here. So I think we're very close with the sections of 1, 2, and the wing sections on 3. 4 is good overall, but like you said, it could be a more generic look, something like the cockpit. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And more geometric in 2, so that's good. I mean, that really helped. I'd agree. So let's do this. For what it's worth here, let me close with this. I think, well, let's take a look at number 4 as the overall winner as far as view is concerned, but getting more of the cockpit character of 2 into it, and the spoon system of 4 intact. So it's something to modify the shape, get more of a blended wing to it, modify the cockpit, modify the front end, and keep that spoon system up front. There's something about that gives an iconic look to it. So I think that's really been helpful, guys. I mean, really, really appreciate the time and effort here. So let's kind of get these all stacked together. There it is, there it is. Let's see, let's put this guy up front, move this guy over here. And I think that's going to be a really good wrap here in terms of getting this thing put together here. So let me do this. So it's that guy. and that guy. So there's a genealogy right there. Let's kind of put those two together. So that's it. See those side by side. Can we kind of get those in a little bit? There we are. So much better, I think, in terms of putting together a nice line study for next week. So my task is going to be to get some modification here. Maybe simplify this a little bit more. Give this kind of character. That spoon system, keeping 4 as a body form, geometric, get more of a blended wing to either one or the other, the 1 or 4, and begin to modify that shape. Get into a nice view, for example, for next week. In phase 3, get consensus on the final design. Then from there, go back in and say, all right, here we are. Move into a nice composition for a final illustration 11x17 full color marker study. And I don't know about you, Interis, but I think when I go to the final study itself, I think I'll maintain that same yellow and charcoal look. Or is the yellow too friendly? That's another thing I'm thinking about too. Maybe it's all charcoal and black or something, like a real evil-looking orange, more of a vicious, just orange accent somewhere to kind of give it some real flavor here. Now, what do you think? Yellow or orange? Like a burnt orange, something really nasty looking. So that's great. Really, really helpful here, Shadow. Thanks. And again, Shadow, thanks for taking the time to get that sound squared away too. So interesting. Good stuff here, guys, and there's a lot of stuff here. I think this is much more shark-like, more Mokarran, much more the same process that we started with a year ago to get that yellow and grays. It reminds me of measurement. Yeah, it does. Love the right one. I went on the right. This guy here, that's the one. Super. All right, so the combination of those two I'll be working on for next Wednesday stream. And boy, I tell you what, it's been a really good, productive day. And again, so sad that I had that happen. Spelling, not a problem at all. But really had a really difficult time last week putting this whole thing together. It was just really tough to see that thing kind of crash like that. And boy, Shadow did a great job of trying to investigate what took place. We finally found what it was. We were hacked. The internet system and the billing dropped down, so we lost a lot of time as far as developing the story of the Americom, the Mokarran. But I think we got it back again. I think, again, this has been really helpful for me, because sometimes when you're all by your own here, you see certain things and you make judgments based on likes and dislikes. But when you have other voices coming in and saying, no, this is good, this is not, try this and try that, that input has been terrifically invaluable. So I can't thank you enough, Shadow, and also Valdemar and Terrace for joining in today. Made a big difference here, so it's really been helpful. So again, next week, it's going to go right in there. Oh man, that sucks. Glad you got. Yeah, it really was bad. I could not believe how deep that thing went in Terrace. It destroyed the sound system. It racked into the internet. It lost about 40 minutes worth of presentation time. I can't get it back. That's why I went back today, did a little bit of a review, because I spent last week going through the review process of what happened last year by developing the Mokarran as a lightweight fighter for Star Citizen. But anyhow, we're back at it again, so hopefully this will stay consistent. And thanks so much, Shadow, for all the work you're doing behind the scenes here. And again, and Tara's great input. Very helpful to have that on that third mind or fourth mind on hand here to kind of guide your way through the whole process. So looking good, guys. And by the way, too, I don't know if you caught the announcement here. Really glad you managed to stream again. I always look forward to I look forward to having you on board too, Antares. And by the way, if you've got any work that you're working on or some things that you want us to address, or if I can help you with, not that you need it, but if there's something there that I can help you with, feel free to drop me a note on my email, and we'll kind of take care of it as we go down the line here. Happy to help you in any way I can. So thank you so much for your patience and your loyalty. Everything's moving over to YouTube now. We made a real special PSA announcement this afternoon, getting all the people from Twitch on over. So we're still active in both areas, but it's going to be interesting too. Plus, we're looking at some playlist stuff on my homework for the next few weeks or so, new few days, is to get some playlists to the Shadow Man to put it all together and adding to the website. So it's all positive. So it's been really cool. So looking good here, guys. But for that matter, homework is set. I've got my task in hand, and I really appreciate your input. And once again, please look at my website, drcontrast.com. That was great. Boy, you know how much it means to me, Michael, to have you on board, Shadow. You're an absolute genius, and your input has always been terrifically helpful. Terrific talent you are, as well as you are, in Terra. So hope all is good. Going full stream now. All right, full steam ahead we go. That's it. So I've got direction now. I'm going to modify it. I think between now and next week, I don't want to disappoint you. I just want to do some really good study and get some really good form studies based on line form first. Get that approved, and then move on to some color stuff and move on to the next project's going to be really interesting. You got to stay tuned. It's called the Prototipo Coupe. It's going to do some neat stuff with some manufacturers here. It's more of a vehicle-related thing, but you'll see once we get it announced in 2 weeks from now. So all the very best, gang. Take care. Please look at my website, drcontrast.com. Drop me a note and Terrace or anybody else, Dr. Contrast, at jim@drcontrast.com. And again, thank you so much, gang. Looking forward to being on board next Wednesday when we run full steam. And honestly, again, I always sign out for this. I think it's extremely important. Always remember, never forget to dare to remember to dare to be great, because you are. Thanks for the time, gang. Have a great week, and we'll touch base next Wednesday with a whole new facelift of Phase 3 into the whole process of Mokarran, the Hammerhead Biomimicry program. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Take care. There it is.